Hey everyone, welcome to the Crime All Over podcast where we talk about true crime, mysteries, and the unexplained. My name is Liz and we are here with a mystery, one of the craziest mysteries in Japan. It's strange, it's wild, and I really wanted to share it. Real quick disclaimer though, I will pronounce things wrong, I'll probably not sound them correctly, more so places in Japan, names, but I'm going to shorten them so I don't get them wrong every single time. Also, trigger warnings for unaliving and food, so viewer discretion is advised. Okay, let's get to it. I'm talking about the Glico Morinaga case. The case all started on the night of March 18th, 1984. At around 9 p.m., two men, masked and armed, broke in the very lavish and expensive home of the candy tycoon Kat Izaki. Kat Izaki was the president of the company Izaki Glico. Izaki Glico is a multinational food corporation, mainly located in the city of Osaka, Japan, but they do have other locations and warehouses. They mostly curate popular store-bought treats, junk food, and candy. So for a little quick history background, back in 1919, Kat's grandfather, Richie Izaki, invented his own caramel candy made with glycogen. The candy became so popular he was able to establish his own company in 1922, Izaki Glico, named after his last name and the glycogen he had derived from oysters to make his original candies. He scaled the company so successfully it provides the world with popular Asian treats even to this day. The company is well known in Japan for their sign, the Running Man. The sign is like a landmark now where people take pictures and put it on social media. But back to the beginning. The masked men actually go first to the house right next door, which was on the same property as Kat, because that's his mom's home. He has his mom live right next to him in her own home on the same land. She was 70 years old at the time and terrified. The men demanded her to hand over the key to the house next door where her son lived. She complied. Kat had a very expensive, fancy security alarm system at that time, but with this key, the intruders were allowed to bypass it. When the men entered the home, they quickly located Kat's wife and their 8-year-old daughter. They started tying them up, and the wife pleaded with the masked men, offering the money to just leave. One of the intruders harshly told her to be quiet and that money was irrelevant to them. Then he locked them in a closet. The intruders began cutting the telephone lines before they swiftly and quickly found Kat. And at this time, Kat was showering, but the intruders didn't even care. They found him, dragged him to the car, and pushed the very naked Kat into the trunk of the car, leaving everyone else, including the other smaller children, in the home unharmed. They then brought Kat into a small and unfamiliar warehouse, tied him up, and proceeded to call another Izaki Glico location in Takasuki. They called the director around midnight, giving him details on where he could find the phone booth that located the ransom note, demanding 1 billion yen and 100 to 200 kilos of gold. The value of the yen would have been less than 5 million back in the 80s. The ransom note indicated where and when the money could be dropped off. 3 days later, while still waiting for the ransom, somehow, some way, Kat was able to loosen up the ropes and free his hands and escape. He found himself in the city of Ibaraki, not too far from his other company building. Once freed, Kat quickly contacted police, and when they sat down to speak to Kat about the kidnapping, identify who did it, he wasn't able to give them any descriptions at all. Kat led police to where he was held. They found out it was a flood control warehouse. They took photographs and figured out where exactly he was actually held. Although there were many unanswered questions, Kat had explained to investigators he was tied up, blindfolded the entire time, and only fed and given minimal clothing. When police questioned him again about a possible motive on why they would even take him, unharm the rest of his family, and not take anything from the house, again, he could not indicate any motive. And this was just the beginning. Only a couple of weeks later, the mysterious men set 6 cars on fire in the parking lot of the company's headquarters. And on April 8th, a letter was sent and received to the Japanese police. I'm going to read you that letter, but I'm sure translation may not give me exact word for word, but hopefully you guys get the picture. To police fools. Are you all stupid? What the hell are you doing with all that manpower? If you're professionals, then come on, catch us. We'll give you a hint since you're so handicapped. There are none of us among Ezaki's relatives. There are none of us among the Nishinomiya police. There are none of us among the flood prevention. The car I bought was gray, and the food I bought was from Day. If you want more information, ask for it in the newspapers. After telling you all this, you should be able to catch us. If you can't, then you're just tax leeches. Shall we kidnap the head of the prefectural police too? So this letter stated where they bought the food for Cat while he was tied up in the warehouse. It claims what kind of car they drove and who they are not connected to. Whoever this group was, they signed the bottom of the note as the monster with 21 faces. Now, the monster with 21 faces was a reference to a character in a book published in 1963. The book is called The Fiend with 20 Faces by Ed Rampo. The character they were referring to in the story was a shape-shifting villain who steals. Unfortunately, with all the clues given to the police, accurate or not, they still had no leads. On April 26, hydrochloric acid was sent to the company in the Ibaraki location. It was found inside a plastic container. The mysterious group kept sending letters all over. They sent letters to the newspaper outlets and even sent letters to the police taunting them. Another letter I found read this: "To police fools, you shouldn't lie. If you lie, you steal." I also sent this to the Koshian police. Why are you lying? Don't hide things. Why are you complaining? You guys are having such a hard time, so I will give you a hint. I entered the factory from the side staff entrance. The typewriter we used is Pan Writer. The plastic container was a piece of street garbage. Signed off with Monster of 21 Faces. However, they never sent any letters directly to Cat until May 10th. It wasn't directly to him, but it was sent to his company. This particular letter had stated that the group was able to lace the company's products with potassium cyanide soda. Now, potassium cyanide soda is a highly toxic and potentially lethal. It's a tasteless and almost odorless compound. It looks almost like salt or sugar, and when mixed with water, it's basically undetectable, with the human eye especially. There are only a few people with a specific genetic trait that are even able to smell the compound, and they claim it smells like a faint hint of bitter almonds. The letter also stated they were more than capable of putting the lace products in the stores to be sold to unknowing and innocent customers. Investigators tested the products in the warehouses, but none came back positive with the compound. It didn't matter. Ezaki Glico couldn't take the risk, and they pulled all their products from the store shelves. This had the company immediately lose more than $20 million. And unfortunately had to lay off more than 450 part-time workers. When the company pulled products, the monster with 21 faces sent another message, but this time towards the police. They threatened to place the poisonous treats in stores themselves. Police quickly started to review footage from the cameras in the stores. A man in a baseball cap was actually spotted with a sports logo, caught on camera, placing Ezaki Glico's chocolates on a shelf. Police still didn't have a suspect, so they released a photo of the security camera in hopes the public would identify the culprit. Maybe this intimidated the group, because on June 26, when the group sent a message to the company, it was ending their reign of terror. The letter read, "We forgive Glico." The president of Glico had already gone around with his head hanging down long enough. In our group, there's also a 4-year-old kid. Every day he cries for Glico. It's a drag to make a kid cry, because he's deprived of the candy he loves. After this message, they stopped contacting and harassing the company. Now word and fear had already spread through Japan, and their candy and treats were not safe, so people for a while stopped buying. Towards the end, sales were reported to have decreased by $130 million and a major loss of 1,000 employees. After all that, the monster of 21 faces did stop harassing Ezaki Glico. However, they just simply turned their attention elsewhere. The group contacted 2 other businesses, a ham company and a food corporation. On June 26, the ham company agrees with the group to give them 50 million yen in exchange for them to just leave them alone. The message from the group states to have an employee from the ham company toss the money on a train heading towards Kyoto when they see the white flag. Investigators decided it was a great opportunity to disguise as an employee and catch the culprits red-handed. The police set up a plan, and an undercover cop hopped on the public transit to follow the group's directions. Sitting and waiting for the white flag, the cop saw a large man with short permed hair and glasses quietly observing. He described his eyes like those of a fox. The investigator noticed after a while there was no white flag, and so he left the train station to sit on a bench to wait it out. While doing so, the stranger with the fox eyes kept watching him. The undercover investigator decided to board another train, but there was still no white flag, and soon he left the train. However, the fox-eyed stranger boarded another train to a different destination where he was followed by a second undercover investigator. Unfortunately, the stranger was quickly able to lose him. Police determined that the stranger was the mastermind behind the whole entire operation. In October of the same year, a letter was sent to Osaka news agency addressed to the moms of the nation. It was a new warning towards their new victim, rival candy company Morinaga. The letter had stated 20 packages of Morinaga candy had been laced with sodium cyanide. Now, we think potassium cyanide soda is bad, but sodium cyanide is far worse. It's 100% poison. It's lethal. At least with the soda you can survive, but with the cyanide you most likely won't. Even with tiny doses you can pass away, and aliving would be so quick with it. When the Morinaga company received the letter, they immediately went to the police. Without taking any chances, the police dispatched officers quickly to snatch the candy from all the stores they could find all over Japan. No one had actually bought the candy, but over 20 packages retrieved from the police did find the candy had labels on them stating "Danger, contains toxins." Placed on top of the boxes and stickers that read "Danger, contains poison. You'll die if you eat this." The mystery man with 21 faces. There was an additional 21 packages found with the group's labels. On November 1st, a letter arrived in Tokyo. The Tokyo location belonged to the home of Morinaga Dairy VP Mit Yamada. This letter stated, "To President, you saw our power, didn't you? If you disobey us, we will destroy your company. You will get killed. Decide whether you want to give us money or do you want to see your company destroyed. Tell us in the Mainichi newspaper on either the 5th or the 6th of November. Use the missing persons. Use these words in the reply: Jiro, Morinaga, mother, police, bad friend, money, meal. As we said before, we want 200 million yen. Monster with 21 faces." The company did respond in the missing persons ad that read, "Dear Jiro, bad friend disappeared. Come back. Warm meal is waiting. Mother Chiyoko." 6 days later, 2 more letters were sent to the ham company and the other food corporation, saying what they basically always demand: we want money or we're going to do something to your products. After Morinaga's first battle with the group and their reputation with the Izaki Glico, they didn't want to take any risks, so they reduced their production by 90%, and unfortunately, employees suffered as well. Now, on November 14th, the group tried it again. This time, they tried to extract money from the food corporation for 100 million yen. The location for the exchange was at a rest stop, and again, an undercover investigator was supposed to drop off the yen in a can under a white piece of cloth, acting as an employee of one of those companies. Police did catch the sight of the fox-eyed man. He was wearing a golf cap and sunglasses, again just observing. The police were able to tail a van who was actually involved with the drop-off. However, the undercover cop just noticed the white cloth, but no can was under it, so the investigators ordered their team to stop the drop-off. They came to the conclusion the drop-off was just an evaluation by the mysterious group. They believed the group just wanted to see how the police worked, how their response was, how many there would be. Once they communicated this with other investigators, they noticed the mysterious van and the mystery man all disappeared. Now, the local police had no idea there was any undercover work going on, much less a top secret cash exchange drop-off. So a local patrol car from the local town saw a station wagon with its engine running. They thought it was odd that a station wagon would just be on idle with its headlights off since it was dark outside. This local police decided to drive right next to the car, get out, flash his light on the driver's seat, and see what was going on. Once the person inside the car saw a light on his face, he quickly sped out of there. The officer got into his vehicle and chased after him, but eventually lost him. He described the person in the driver's seat as a thin man in his 40s, wearing a golf cap over his eyes and talking on a wireless receiver with headphones. This actually happened about an hour before the drop-off was supposed to happen, and once the investigators received this information, they went to look for the car. They found it abandoned near a train station. When the police quickly searched the vehicle, they found a radio transceiver that had been able to connect and listen in on 6 different districts of the police. All 6 of these districts were aware of the drop-off. When they looked up info about the abandoned car, it came back as stolen, which was reported earlier. Even with the investigators and different districts involved, there were still no strong leads. In December, the group tried to blackmail another food company. But the following year, in 1985, the police are still investigating the group. During this time, they released a facial composite sketch in January to the public of the fox-eyed man, hoping to whomever can recognize the picture, turn them in. Even though the investigators had letters, details at least 30,000 tips, video, and undercover police witnessing key players in the group, they didn't come up with any real motive or any real solid suspect at that time. Tragically, in August of 1985, fed up with the way the investigation was going, Police Superintendent of Shiga Prefecture unalived himself by fire. 5 days after the group sent their final letter, the letter read this: Yamato of Shiga Prefecture Police died. How stupid of him. We've got no friends or secret hiding place in Shiga. It's Yoshino Oshikara who should have died. What have they been doing for as long as 1 year and 5 months? Don't let bad guys like us get away with it. There are many fools who want to copy us. No career Yamato died like a man. So we decided to give our condolence. We decided to forget about torturing food-making companies. If anyone blackmails any of the food-making companies, it's not us, but someone copying us. We are bad guys. That means we've got more to do other than bullying companies. It's fun to lead a bad man's life. Monster with 21 faces. And they kept their word. They ceased correspondence with the companies and the media. Investigators continued on the case, and soon after they had a suspect who they believed had a real motive. Tokyo Metropolitan Police identified Manabu Miyazaki. I'm just going to go ahead and call him M. He was the son of the allegedly known Yakuza boss and was allegedly a criminal himself. Police arrested M because of his close appearance to the fox-eyed man and the man in the video. But they also arrested him because of the information they had found out 10 years prior. He was involved in labor disputes with Azaki Glico Company, like whistleblowing, in 1975 and 1976. It involved illegal dumping of industrial waste into local rivers that led to the drainage systems. So basically, this would not only affect marine life, but locals as well. They also suspected M of being responsible for a union leader stepping down over money laundering. The accounts the union leader was responsible for weren't adding up when Azaki Glico's other companies, Glico Ham and Nutritional Foods, were added to the accounts. So basically, M was outing the union leader with money laundering and the actual company with illegal dumping. Unfortunately for the police, this was not going to be their big break. All of M's alibis were solid, and since he was cleared of any crime, police had to let him go. Even though there were 125,000 people of interest on the case, the statute of limitations for all the crimes began to run out as the years went by, and the police didn't have anyone to really charge anything for any crime that happened. Police estimate over 1 million officers had worked hard on the investigation in some form or another, so they were as frustrated as any one of these targeted companies, especially with them made to look like fools, being taunted with the letters and the death of a fellow superintendent. There was even an audio recording the group released to the police during all the hype. It was of a woman and a child demanding money for the group. The police released it to the public, hoping for a big break, hoping for just someone to recognize the voice and lead them to the group. But no one ever came forward. Even in present day, this case remains to be one of the most notorious in Japan, and no one has yet to identify the culprits. Many people have actually attempted to copy what the mysterious group had done, send ransom notes and demand cash, but they were all caught and arrested, having no real link to the actual group. I think this case was wild from the start to the end, and even after. I think the group never wanted money. I think by taunting the police and the companies, that was their main goal. How was the group able to know exactly where the employee entrance was? How did they know exactly where the cameras lacked? And besides the police radio, how were they knowing the police's every move? They didn't tie Cat up exactly right. 3 days and he's able to get out of the restraints or the rope and flee. No one's on guard. There's no cameras. How would they even know where his mother lived? How did they know it was on the same property? Because I highly doubt he advertised that information publicly. In a lot of cases I read, there's always someone on the inside. A working employee, an ex-employee, a police insider. There are conspiracies out there that claim Cat was in on it the whole time, but what would be his motive, and why would he traumatize and put fear in his family in the process? Besides, the police did rule him out. Cat had even told the investigators he believed the guns the masked men had on the night he was kidnapped were actual toy guns. This group plans everything, though, everything down to the last detail. It was strategically aligned, but somehow their victim gets loose and flees. No one's watching anywhere in the building. Things just don't add up. Every time there was going to be an exchange, something went wrong, but only on the group's end. Every time there's a money drop or an exchange, it doesn't happen because an object isn't present where it's supposed to be. When the investigators tail someone they believe is involved or try to follow them, they're gone. So I think it was all to toy with the big corporations, because if you think about it, the big corporations did lose money and revenue at the end. This way, the company does lose all that money and it can't be traced back to the group. That's just my opinion. I hope maybe one day somebody comes out and writes a book and says that they're involved. I'd love to know who else was involved, how they went through it, how they got away with it. I just think that's really cool. But I hope you guys enjoyed the case. I definitely enjoyed covering it. If there's a case anybody wants me to cover, let me know in the comment section. Or just a case that hasn't gotten enough attention, I definitely want to get it out there. Crime All Over is on TikTok and Instagram, so you can also add us on there, but don't forget to subscribe and like on this video. I'm going to start adding a missing persons picture at the end of the episodes, so if anyone has any info on them, the information to contact is in the description box below. You can even call under anonymous. Alright everyone, be safe, stay aware, and check out our other episodes. Bye.